Hey everyone, it's Pastor George back to give current events eternal perspective. So in the late 60s through the 80s, before the internet and cell phones and texting, your TV was the primary source for news and information. Television was used for public service announcements to keep people informed, and one of the most famous was often played late in the evening, around the time when children who were 18 years old and younger, they were expected to be home. The announcement went something like this: "It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?" Frankly, it sounded a little spooky. But it is asking the right question. Do we know? Do we know who we're responsible for? And do we know where the people we're responsible for are? Are they okay? Have we checked in on them lately? So, when I was a kid, even when I was an adult, right? My dad made a point of knowing where I was all the time. In fact, I didn't even get a curfew until I was 17 and a half, after I had abused the fact that I knew where I was. So what if I didn't tell my parents, right? But the fact that my dad cared enough to chase me down at the neighbor's house when I accidentally fell asleep on the couch there, it proved to me that he did care, that someone was watching out for me, and I was not slipping through the cracks. This thing we have, this place we have here, the church, it's pretty great. We're a body of people who believe the same things, we worship the same person, and all have the same ultimate hope and future. But it's also a place where, if we're not careful, people can slip through the cracks. And the cracks are pretty large right now. It's hard to notice when someone is missing. And even in a smaller ministry like mine of young adults, where life takes people in different directions all the time, it's hard to know if a person is at work or on vacation or out to sea or just simply out to lunch. And when a person disappears, we don't know if they're gone or if they're just going to reappear next week. So to overcome this, we have to go all in on God's people. We need to be intentional about pursuing God's people and developing relationships that go beyond surface level acquaintances. And everyone should have someone who knows where they are spiritually, and in some cases even physically. In other words, are we taking responsibility to make sure that people within the church are staying connected to God and to each other? Now, we all know that we haven't been at church, but do we always know why? Is there anything else going on? And maybe we know someone is struggling, but do we know with what? Now, in the Gospels, Jesus tells a parable about God's love for us, but it also serves as an inspiration for the care that we should have for one another. He says, "What do you think? If a man has 100 sheep and one of them has gone astray, does he not leave the 99 on the mountains and go in search of the one that went astray? And if he finds it, truly, I say to you, he rejoices over it more than over the 99 that never went astray." Now, there is no better example in the Bible of a person who is all in than the shepherd who goes all in for their sheep. He knows that every one of them is relying on him for provision and safety and encouragement and guidance. And the sheep know that they have someone looking out for them. And the shepherd knows which sheep he's responsible for and where those sheep are all the time. Okay, now I might be reading into this parable more than just what's written, but put yourself in the shepherd's place. He notices a sheep is missing. He cares where that sheep is physically. And even noticing shows that the sheep has value. There's 99 other sheep. One could easily be missed. But that sheep matters, and the flock isn't complete until all the sheep are together. And the church community should be the same way. We should notice when someone is absent, because you matter. Now, the shepherd has concern for the sheep. Why is it missing? Did it get lost? Did we leave it behind? Did it get stolen or worse, eaten? Does the sheep have what it needs to survive? This means caring for the sheep spiritually. These are the same questions that run through a pastor's head when he notices people are missing. Why are they not here? Are they okay? Did they get lost? Did we leave them behind? Did something steal their heart? Were they devoured by the prowling, roaring lion? And have we prepared them to be on their own, to survive? And as the church, being in community means being aware of where people are spiritually. And finally, that shepherd, when he finds the sheep, he takes it up into his arms and he carries it back to the flock, and he rejoices that what was lost is now found. Now, this is caring emotionally. And being part of a community means celebrating the wins and enduring the losses together. Now, if that shepherd has found a cold, miserable, wet sheep that was stuck in a ditch, he's going to support that lamb until it regains its strength. And if that lamb is stubborn angry, obstinate, and bent on hurting itself, the shepherd won't give up until that sheep is safely back with the flock. Why? Because he loves the sheep. So if we're going to go all in on God's people, then you and I need to be aware not only of our sheep and who they are, but where they are, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. The community of the church will be healthier when each one of us takes up the attitude of a shepherd and takes it upon themselves to help care for the flock. And what does the shepherd do when he realizes that sheep are missing? He goes after them. He doesn't hope they'll stroll back into the flock. He doesn't put out food and bait them to come in. He doesn't view them as unworthy of being part of the flock just because they wandered off. No, he intentionally pursues them because he has compassion for them. And when Jesus saw the crowds of people, the Bible says that he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Do you know what sheep without a shepherd are? They're lost. They're at risk. They're dinner for wolves. So what? What does it mean for us to be all in on God's people? That means that somebody needs you to go after them. Somebody needs you to be intentional in their lives, needs you to know their name and make sure you know where they are physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Someone who has wandered off, got lost, or is in danger of being devoured needs you to come looking for them, let them know they're not alone, and help them find their way home. There are people in your world who just need to be reminded that we think it is unacceptable for them to be out on their own, and more so that if we take the time to know who those sheep are and where those sheep are, hopefully it won't come down to us chasing them down. And being all in on God's people means not just the ones who are in the family now, but those who are not yet God's people. Those who could be if they could just hear the message of Jesus, if someone would just tell them. And someone needs you to be the one to pursue them, to be willing to get out of the safe fellowship of the 99 and go after the one who needs Jesus, to love them, to warn them, and help them find their way. Because if not you, then who? I know you're asking the question, but how? So many of our church activities are non-existent. There's not a place for me to bring people or a way for us to connect. Well, the answer is this: the church is a people, not a place. Now, while I want to get back to meeting face-to-face with everyone, just like it used to be, the example Jesus gave us is going. As a matter of fact, the phrase "Jesus went" appears in the Bible dozens of times. So we have to go where people are. Call, visit, invite them over. Don't focus on what you can't do, but focus on what you can. It just takes a little intentionality and a little imagination. We are designed for relationships. And if we're honest, the hardest thing lately has been not being able to be around the people we consider family, whether by blood or by the blood of Christ. But I'm going to be bold enough to say that we will never regret going all in on those relationships, the ones that will last forever, no matter what it costs us. After all, our good shepherd, Jesus, he went all in for us. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.